Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring an incredibly fascinating concept from our source material, the deep, undeniable historical echoes connecting the ancient world of pharaohs to the modern realm of Silicon Valley. Picture this. Imagine a ruler from antiquity, someone so unimaginably wealthy and powerful that he literally commanded his architects to build a massive monument piercing the heavens, all just to challenge the divine. Now fast forward to today. We have Silicon Valley titans promising to shoot rockets to Mars and engineer a flawless AI-driven utopia. On the surface, it just seems like the ultimate triumph of human ingenuity. But the source material points out a really chilling paradox lying just beneath all that. Why is it that the most resourceful men on Earth are promising this magical, impending utopia, while at the exact same time, the day-to-day economic reality of the average person seems to be completely crumbling? So what really links modern tech billionaires to ancient kings? Let's unpack that.
To understand this, the material brings up a historical figure known as Abu Jahl. Now, his name translates to father of ignorance, but here's the crazy part. Before he earned that pretty terrible title, he was actually widely celebrated by his society as a total genius. He was revered for his immense intelligence, his high status, and his relentless drive. The source uses his story to lay down a foundational, undeniable rule, and that rule is that extreme intelligence and worldly success absolutely do not guarantee a moral compass. Without that moral grounding, raw genius can actually become a profoundly destructive force.
Think about the scale of these ambitions across thousands of years. On one side, we have today's tech elites promising this incredible AI-driven paradise of effortless abundance and literal escape hatches to Mars. And on the other side, you have the ancient pharaoh commanding architectural marvels to physically reach the heavens. According to the analysis, these utopian declarations flawlessly mirror one another. It highlights this persistent, dangerous human illusion. It's the belief that through sheer wealth and engineering alone, certain individuals can elevate themselves to godhood, entirely bypassing the messy reality of the human condition.
But hold on a second. If this utopia is just around the corner, why is society currently boiling with so much anger? Well, we constantly hear a very specific, highly charged narrative being pushed. It's the claim that vulnerable populations or immigrants are the ones actively destroying society and culture. And the source notes that certain incredibly powerful figures actively amplify this rhetoric. But it's argued that this isn't an accident. It's meticulously calculated misdirection. Basically, by pointing the finger downward at minority groups, public outrage is effectively distracted from the true underlying systemic causes of their economic pain.
So what is the real crisis? The material asserts that the force hollowing out the middle class isn't actually coming from desperate populations seeking work. The real threat is systemic, and it's quiet. It's massive, unchecked corporate extraction. It's the devastating financial fallout of international wars completely draining national budgets. We're looking at a rapidly shifting system where massive corporations quietly shut down local industries and move wealth into offshore havens. And the whole time, the average citizen is kept angry at their neighbor instead of questioning the people at the very top of the ladder. To really grasp how deeply ingrained this strategy is, the source outlines what it calls the historical scapegoat playbook. It's essentially a ruthless, three-step process that's been used for centuries to maintain absolute power. Step 1. Systematically exploit the masses and drain their resources. Step 2. When people finally feel the economic pain and start asking questions, manufacture a massive distraction. And Step 3. Direct that newly minted anger toward a vulnerable minority. The explainer draws a direct, unbroken line from the grand halls of ancient palaces right down to the algorithms governing our modern social media feeds. And you can literally trace this timeline of divide and conquer throughout human history. In ancient Egypt, it was the deliberate subjugation of the Bani Israel to prevent them from uniting. Jump to the 1930s, and it manifested in the catastrophic targeting of Jewish populations during a time of extreme economic distress. In the 18th century, the British East India Company perfected policies that divided entirely distinct groups all across the Indian subcontinent. And today, the source argues that the exact same recycled tactic is being deployed. Blaming modern immigrants is just the latest way to maintain control over a quietly, ruthlessly exploited middle class. This brings us to a fascinating and, honestly, deeply unsettling modern reality presented in the material. Today's tech elites are framed not just as innovators, but as operating like the directors of a new East India Company. Think about it. Historical colonial tactics, like extracting massive wealth, monopolizing entire industries, and deliberately fueling local resentments, well, they aren't just applied to far-off colonies anymore. The source argues they are being deployed right now against the very citizens of Western nations. Wealth is continuously extracted upward, while middle-class anger is skillfully and intentionally directed downward. And while the masses are distracted by all this engineered conflict, they are being sold a very grand vision, the AI deflation paradise. This is the alluring promise that artificial intelligence is going to achieve such magical abundance that human labor and eventually money itself will just become completely obsolete. It's a future where everything is simply provided by machines. I mean, it sounds like an absolute dream, right? But the source warns that this utopian vision is not a gift. It's actually a profound existential risk. Because according to the analysis, the true cost of this AI paradise is total, inescapable dependency. Think about it. If tech giants provide everything, they fundamentally control everything. We are looking at the potential for complete monopolization of banking infrastructure, personal communication, and our highly sensitive health data. The argument here is that this utopian vision is, in reality, a beautifully engineered invisible cage. It's designed to make the masses willingly surrender their independence, their privacy, and their agency, ultimately creating a modern feudal system where a handful of elites rule as absolute data monarchs. Which leads us to a reality-shattering question that cuts right through that whole utopian illusion. If extreme wealth and modern engineering are truly so benevolent that they can solve all of human history's problems in the next decade, well, why haven't they solved today's crippling student loan and housing debt crises? If the ultimate goal really is human salvation, why does massive wealth accumulation at the very top rarely, if ever, translate into actual, tangible societal relief for the average person right now?
To find the answer, the explainer points to another powerful historical echo. In ancient scriptural texts, there's the story of a figure named Qarun, also known as Korah. He possessed unimaginable, exponentially growing wealth. But his story serves as a dire cautionary tale. His immense riches led directly to extreme arrogance, total self-worship, and ultimately to utter destruction. Qarun's legacy is brought up to prepare us for a shocking modern reality. Because right now, the mathematics of our current era reveal a terrifying parallel to that ancient story.
And this brings us to the twist in the numbers. 64. That is the number you need to remember. We are not talking about a 64% increase here. We are talking about a 64 times multiplier. This is the exact rate at which the top 10 billionaires have exponentially grown their wealth over the last 40 years. It's a number so massive, it almost defies human comprehension, right? And according to the source, it is the absolute linchpin to understanding the hidden mechanics of the world we currently live in. When you look at the data over a 40-year span stretching to 2026, the mystery fully unravels. The wealth of the top 10 billionaires grew that astonishing 64 times, from $30 billion back in 1986 to a projected $1.92 trillion. But simultaneously, the U.S. national debt grew 19 times over that exact same period, ballooning from $2 trillion to nearly $40 trillion. The juxtaposition is devastating. While the public is told to just patiently wait for a technological paradise, a highly efficient, systemic extraction of wealth is already occurring. It's bankrupting national economies and saddling the middle class with absolutely historic levels of debt. The source asserts that this massive wealth gap isn't just a byproduct of free market innovation. It's not an accidental glitch. It is systematic corruption. Staggering amounts of wealth are legally and strategically funneled into tax-free havens all around the globe. Meanwhile, the very middle class that actually drives the real economy is left drowning in inflation, insurmountable loans, and an ever-worsening housing crisis. It is presented as a brilliantly protected form of extraction, happening entirely within legal frameworks that were designed by and maintained for the ultra-wealthy.
So, the explainer wraps this up with a deeply emotional, moral warning, especially directed at the next generation. It cautions that if we make career and economic success our god, it is simply a modern kind of idolatry. The source stresses that blindly treating these tech billionaires as flawed role models carries profound spiritual danger. In this relentless, empty pursuit of financial and technological supremacy, we run the very real risk of losing our humanity and our moral compass entirely.
As we stand on the brink of unprecedented technological change, the material leaves us with a lingering, provocative question to reflect on. Are we blindly following modern figures right into a beautifully engineered utopian cage? Or will we actually learn from the past, recognize the signs of the historical scapegoat playbook, and protect our moral compass against these ancient, repeating cycles of exploitation? The future isn't just about what kind of technology we build, it's about remembering exactly who we are when we build it.